And the sense of the people was very much, we have endured everything they could throw at us, and not only are we still here, but things are improving. One thing I wanted to mention from my experience, I saw a big shift in the situation and the people's mentality in between two of my visits to Venezuela, which were, one was January, so I was there in 2019, and then I was there in 2020, January 2020, just before all the lockdowns started. And then the next time I was there was 2023. So they'd been through the pandemic and out the other side. In 2019 and 2020, what I saw was that the sanctions regime was really at its peak, that the people were braced, that they were pushing through and holding it together, but it was really, really hard. And you felt like the whole revolution was held together with just pure determination. And the people were grimly determined, I would say. I would characterize the mood in 2020 when I was there. In 2023, what was interesting to me, there had been a shift in terms of, I felt like there were more working parts around the place, and there was a kind of steady shift. It was obviously still really difficult, but there was a shift in the mood, and the sense of the people was very much, we have endured everything they could throw at us, and not only are we still here, but things are improving. And not only are things improving, but the multipolar world is rising, and it's like the cavalry's just over the hill. And you could like, even though all of the changes people want and need hadn't happened yet, they had this sense of, we're going to get there. It was it was a really big shift. And yet when I went in 2023, the mood had moved from grim determination to optimism, even though they still had so many problems they were facing. That was really interesting to me. And that's what I consistently see with reports back and my connections with Venezuela and everything that I see what's happening is that shift is very real. And one thing that happened that really changed the consumer situation in terms of availability of goods. So obviously they've done this big shift in terms of food production, but that doesn't change like toothpaste and soap and just day-to-day stuff that you need. A really big thing that happened was a big deal between Venezuela and Iran. And they started to help one another with energy, and Iran started to help Venezuela with consumer goods. And now in Caracas and around Venezuela, there are loads of, I guess you call them supermarkets, small type, not hypermarkets, Iranian supermarkets with consumer goods that make people's lives better. It's a really important development. And this is an example of how the hyper-sanctioned countries are coming to one another's aid. Yeah. And that sanctions, which in the early days were so effective, have become a blunt tool now because of the fact that they've targeted so many countries with massive sanctions, including China. They've actually created a huge part of the world now that's got a massive motivation to work together to bypass the imperialist system. And the imperialists well and truly lifted a rock and dropped it on their own feet. So I think that's something that's really significant to understand about what's changed.